audio is recording here. Okay, I think it is. All right. So yeah, my audio is recording now. Making sure. All right, so now let's get our image on here. You guys know how this stuff starts. You just get your the bumblebee image in here, and you know I'm a drag and drop kind of guy. So I'm just gonna find my image. I'm gonna drag it and I'm gonna drop it into my material viewport here, where it disappears into the ether. All right. Where are you, bumblebee? Oh, is it a PNG? What is this? Oh, okay. I think it's a PNG. It should be able to open it, right? Okay. For some reason, my B doesn't want to open. So I'm gonna do what I always do and outsmart the program. I'm gonna use the snipping tool. Turn this thing into a JPEG, just like so. File, save as. I'm just gonna save it to my desktop. Libby. Okay, so that's Libby right there. I don't know if they have a name. Like there's like a Mario name for them. I think they're just the bumblebees. Okay, so now I've got my image actually on my desktop now. So Libby comes in here. All right, yep. So now it's a JPEG. I've got it in here. We're just gonna use a physical material. You guys know the deal. Drag my B into the base color map. It turns it into the base color. And as you guys can see right here, it's squished, right? Like never model anything that you see that the aspect ratio is off, right? If the aspect ratio is off, what you need to do is you need to figure out how to fix it. Let me show you. All right, you're gonna go into your modifier tab. You're gonna drop down this menu. You're gonna hit U on your keyboard, and it's gonna bring you to the U's. You're gonna do a UVW map, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna just scroll to the bottom, find bitmap fit here, click on bitmap fit. Using your bitmap fit, now you can navigate to where your image is, right? And you can find Libby, open Libby, and it's gonna make sure that the aspect ratio of the image is true to that image that you've got selected. So whatever the image is, it's gonna show you, and it's gonna show you using these orange borders. So now my plane isn't big enough. So now I can go down into my plane, right? The reason I can see it, right, I can do this right here, is because I have this little beaker thing checked. So if I don't have this thing checked right here, it's not gonna show me. It's called show end result. And if I don't have this selected, it doesn't show me this modifier stack of this UVW map on there. But if I have it selected, I can see what's happening at the topmost modifier stack on my bottom, so I can still affect it, right? And if I keep going, it's just gonna tile it over and over and over again. But you know that your aspect ratio is correct. It's perfect. This is good to go. I can model from this, and I won't have any issues. All right. So let's Alt Q. If I hit Alt Q, it isolates my image. So I'm just gonna zero this guy out. So zeroing out, when I say that, I means I'm zeroing out the object to its X, Y, and Z coordinates. And the way you do that is you right click on this X, Y, and Z panel right at the bottom of your screen right here. You just right click here, right click here, right click here. And now it seems like it's lost. If I just hit Z, whenever I have my image selected, it's gonna zoom right into my image. It's just gonna stay right there, all right? So, right, we are good to go. right? Now I'm gonna right click on my plane here that I have my image on. I'm gonna click on my object properties, right? So now that I have my object, I'm gonna uncheck show frozen in gray, because if I try to freeze this, right? If I freeze this without unchecking show frozen in gray, it's gonna turn that into gray the moment I try to freeze that object. But I wanna see that, so I'm gonna check, you know, uncheck show frozen in gray. Then I'm gonna freeze it, hit OK. Now it's frozen, I can't move it, I can't grab it, I can't scale it, I can't do anything because I've frozen it. I can right click anywhere and unfreeze all, and it'll unfreeze it for me. But I don't want to do that. I'm just showing you guys how to do this right now, just in case. I always like to kind of refresh you guys. The more I say it, hopefully the more this stuff kind of goes in and you understand just these basic things that you need to do. And this is just specific to this software. In other software, it's different to put your image and make sure that it's correct. So the concept of this is to remember to make sure you're modeling from an image that's actually accurate. That's 1:1. This is the aspect ratio. If it's 1920 by 1080, that the image you're modeling from is 1920 by 1080 and not squished into like 960 by some random number, you know, something like that. So that's the idea of this, is to make sure at the very least you're modeling from an accurate picture. All right. So rant aside, let us begin. You guys know how I like to do this. I like to just, you know, make the basic shapes that I see here, right? So what I see him as no, not a cylinder, actually a sphere, but not just any sphere. I'm gonna use that, yeah, I'm gonna use the regular sphere this time, because I think I'll get pretty good topology workflow from just a regular sphere. All right, it's a one-click operation, so I'm gonna hit Alt and X to hide that guy, and I'm gonna do the same for the eye. And all I'm gonna do is make one. You know, you guys know that. Yeah, I'll use a sphere as well. I'll use the same sphere. Right. Alt X, just putting it in place, just making sure. And then we've got a cone here that we can use to actually make our cone. This is like a two-step operation. And then scale out. And then, no, it's actually a three-step operation. And then boom. And I'm pretty sure I can, I'm just gonna quad cap it at the end. So now I'm just gonna grab this like this, actually hit A to turn on my angle snaps to make sure that whenever I snap it, it's snapping at degrees of 5. So now I'm going to 45, I want 90 degrees, right, to turn it that way. And you can even kind of try to place it, hit W to move, you know. And now I can go back into the radius, and then radius 2 is that one, and then reduce the height just to make sure that our silhouette matches. I'm a silhouette junkie in the sense that if the silhouette looks right, generally it's probably, you know, you're true to that form, right? And the closer you get to matching the silhouette that you're getting, the better your model is going to turn out. So I've got my my base in here, and then for this little wing, I'm going to use a cylinder. Just use a cylinder that will manipulate. All right. Okay. Reduce the height, and then just bring that close to that, like so. Look at that. We're done. This is it. All right. Y'all can go home now, or you guys are already home, so I can just turn it off. No, I'm joking. Yeah, this is it. You start with something very small like this, and you know, for these little legs, I'm only gonna make one. So, I mean, look at this tiny little legs though. These are the funniest little legs ever. Everybody knows somebody who got legs like this though. Everybody got that one cousin. I'm gonna just, let's see, draw a line like that. Actually, I can just do it like this. And then, got me a little leg. Alright. So now we can just make it radial. And it's got a quad cap on it. This is a quad cap, so I can add different segments so that it's like a smoother kind of transition. But I think what this is actually is it's two separate things that are joined together. So what we're probably going to need to do is we're going to probably need to split these right here. So you guys can't see it right now, but this is still a spline. I'm just showing you what the. So if I turn off this enable and renderer and enable and viewport, you won't be able to see that outer shell that it's creating. And we can just see the spline shape for it. So this is the leg that we drew, and I want to split these. So I'm just going to select that. I'm going to break those. Now that I've broken it, what I can do is I can select this guy, right? And you can see that it's no longer a part of it. So if I select this, I should be able to just pull it. So I'm gonna go my front view to make sure. I'm gonna just pull it a little past this guy like so. And now when I enable and render in viewport, you'll see the difference that I've got. So it's something more like that. All right. So this is our start, right? Like this isn't too crazy. I haven't gone over the the bridge or anything like that. Like this is just a good intro to our little B frame. Let's see what we got here. Alright, so let's hit Alt X. Alright. So what I'll start doing now is kind of start placing this stuff in a relative area to where I see them being. Like the eyes would be up there, and then the little wings. Even this guy's kind of cute. He's kind of chubby. All right, and then and you're gonna have to take into account that these guys you're definitely gonna be taking in some perspective, right? Like it's kind of turned like this way, right? I don't know. I don't have anything that I can use to demonstrate. Actually, I do. So it's like this. If you guys are looking at it, it's like this. If you guys can see the little bottom thing, something like that. So this leg is like this way, and this leg is like that way. But they're pushing this really far back, right? Like that leg looks like, in reality, it might be like this in the final image, right? So let's make it a copy. And then in here, right, it looks right? Like all I gotta do is get this little angle and it looks right. But the moment you turn this bad boy around, you see that thing is all the way on the other side. And it's funny because that's some of the tricks that you have, like you don't even think about it. You say, oh yeah, of course that's what, because you don't care about that final image. Like all I care about is that it looks right. Like at the end of the day, like all I gotta see is this, that make sure it look right. And hey, it's right. The audience doesn't know that this thing is janky and this is 3D. This is, we can hide stuff here, right? I'm not saying that you should all the time. What I'm saying is when you're on the job sometimes, these are the things you're going to have to do to make sure stuff gets out. If that stuff is due tomorrow and they're saying, and you're trying to force a perspective that won't work like this, right? Because this is how I'm going to make it for you guys. I'm going to make it like this, right? Because look what I'm trying to show you guys. Look at what it looks like in reality. In reality, right? If we go in perspective, this is what it's supposed to look like, right? Those legs together, they're supposed to be overlapping, but they're forcing that perspective so much, and whoever drew it wanted to force that silhouette value so much that the artist, like the 3D guy, had to pull this guy like all the way out just to get it to look like that, right? They have to put it in some weird, funky position just to get that look. You know what I'm saying? Right? It looks right. Like right now, that kind of looks like the image. But in reality, That's behind the scenes. All right. So things like that will happen, but you know, you live with it. So it's just a part of the business. It's just a part of getting stuff done and getting it out of the way. And these are the little things that you guys will need to start thinking about and using to your advantage. And you know, they're not going to advertise that they do that, but that's what we do. You're not supposed to know that that's what we do. That's pretty much what we ain't got no. You don't have a choice. When somebody's like, "Oh, I needed this yesterday," right? Because a lot of the times the jobs you're gonna get are people like, you know, the jobs that I get are like people that are like, "Yeah, I needed this project done like a week ago, and I'm coming to you and it's last minute, so I need you to get it done now, like now, and you know." So when you've got 3 days deadlines, a week deadlines, you know, you're gonna have to do some stuff, you know. It might not feel right, you know, modeling wise, in the sense of like it's not 100% accurate, you know, but who cares? You got the job done, you got paid, they got their product. Let's move on to the next project. All right, so I'm just gonna add an edit poly to this, and I'm gonna start modeling this, making this guy into our eye. So I'm just gonna hit F on the keyboard. I want to delete half of this guy. Just grab a whole half. Like I might eventually go back to the other one, but let's see how this guy works. I think I like this guy. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna hide. I'm just gonna move it out of the way. I'm just gonna put this guy like right over here. And what I want to do is I'm trying to find the eyelid, this little split area, and actually let's throw an FFD 4x4 on here. Just hit 1 on the keyboard. Let's see, start pulling. Alright, and it's kind of flat too, so if I hit Control A, I can select all of it, and I'm just gonna squeeze it a little bit like that. Squeeze it so we've got that kind of eye shape going already. And it feels a little bulbous, like it feels like a little, you see how that, you know, and I've got a little bit of that going, but I might want to accentuate it. So I just marquee selected over these middle birds right there, and you know, just give them a little loving, a little plump loving like that. And now I'm gonna throw another edit poly modifier on top of this guy, and the next thing I'll do is I'm gonna select this top guy right there. Maybe reduce it. Nah, I like that. I like it like that. All right, so I'm gonna take this guy and I'm gonna make myself a duplicate kind of shell out of this. So I'm gonna detach it. I'm gonna use these settings, right? This little box next to them means that you can open a dialog box that you can use to click on different things and do different things. So I'm gonna click on this detached little dialog box right here, and it's gonna pull up my detached settings. And these settings, I can select whether or not I want to detach it to the element. If I detach it to the element, it's gonna detach it inside of this model itself, inside of this shape. If I detach it, if I uncheck it and I detach it as a clone, it's gonna clone this selection that I have, and it's gonna just detach it separately. If I have both of them selected, it's going to detach it and it's going to make it a clone. So it's going to clone something and then it's just going to leave it in here. Or I can have it just take it out of it and make it into its own kind of separate file, its own kind of separate model, you know, kind of piece like that. So that's what you got to keep in mind whenever you're doing this. So if you click it and you're like, wait, where did my piece go? Where's the thing that I tried to make? Well, you might have this unchecked, so it might have just made it out of it. So like, it made it, but it took it out of the element of this of that piece. So, and that's actually what I want to do. I want that to happen. That's exactly what I want. And the next thing I want to do now is I think I want to throw a shell modifier on here. And we're going to do not an inner shell, but an outer shell. Right? And this shell is going to just give us, you know, a nice little eyelid kind of base. And let's see, I'm gonna actually detach this guy as an element, right? I'm gonna detach a clone as an element. So I wanna make the same thing, but in there so I can use it for the purple. Now I've got a second one in here. So now if I scale down, I've got this extra eyelid, this pupil piece right here that I can just scale down, right? I haven't created anything other than the simple geo that I've made. This stuff is, you know, I'm trying to show you guys, this stuff is relatively easy once you start to understand. I'm just, you know, reusing the stuff that I already have, right? So it kind of goes out a little further like that. And then you can go out, we've got, and then we can just leave this guy like so. We've got this eye kind of at a good starting point. I want to address our body right quick. I want to address our body. We haven't been hitting the gym as much, so we've kind of let it go a little bit. It's our quarantine bod. So let's round us out. Let's round us out. Let's get some shape going in here. All right, so I'm gonna rotate this guy 90 so that I've got my pole on the sides, because the next thing I want to do is I'm gonna throw a FFD modifier. But before I do that, I actually want to turn this guy. I'm gonna actually make this guy in like straight away. I'm gonna, you know, I'm using this guy as a guide, but I'm gonna make this guy straight on, and then bend him back into place. So let's go here. So I know that's at least how round he is. So now I can just throw an FFD modifier on here. And so if I select one like that, I know I can pull like so, right? Start getting that egg-like shape that he's got. And then maybe even scaling out a little bit like this. Then I can just hit F on the keyboard. If I hit E, I can rotate it right like that. If I hit Alt X, now I can see what we're looking at, and just gonna maybe scale this guy back down like so. Right, it's actually it's not the, you know, it's a very simple kind of guy to make. So I just want to get that silhouette. Going. It's just an FFD modifier. This helps us make these kind of broad sweeping changes to our mesh. We're not going, you know, kind of minuscule right now. And I kind of like his you know, the little striping. I'm gonna try to get some sort of fuzz or something going on him, because he's got a little fuzz. All right. Now that we've got that, we can hit Alt X. We've got our shape for our B. We've got our little leg. Rotate this guy back. So F. And I'm just gonna put this guy. Okay. And then the last thing we need to address is the wing, and that's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. I'm just gonna do the same thing where I jam this guy right here, and then just FFD, Right, I like the FFT because it allows me to make these kind of broad, these sweeping changes without really getting into the nitty gritty of the model. I don't have to go into it and start doing anything extra. So, just like that, got the wing. Now I can just gonna rotate this guy a little bit like that. Let's do maybe 40. Let's do 35. And I can pull it out more if I want. All right, and this is just a nice little base. One side. All right, so this is how we start to kind of define where our mesh is. Right. And there are two things that you guys, I'm trying to teach you guys to take into account here, right? Like this is a final pose. So when you're modeling, there are two approaches to it. There's the approach of modeling to the sketch itself. And then there is modeling for production, right? So I'm kind of mixing philosophies here a little bit, but hopefully later on you guys will be able to parse out, when you need to do what, because there are certain things that you need to do for certain types of projects, right? So, it's a weird thing. If this was for the video game, right? Like this process that I'm going through, you could use it to make the video game. But there's another process where you don't have to do all the extra stuff, where you can just do it to the render, which is what I was showing you. You can just do it to render, and that's a different kind of modeling as well. And it's just another philosophy. It's just another way of doing things. So, you guys know I like to kind of model with the materials in hand. So it's always more fun when you're kind of seeing the colors and what you're going for to start with. So I'm just gonna double click on that. It'll bring up my color picker, and now I can start picking from the material. So I'm gonna select that. So this is our B. Double click on this guy. Use this for the brown. Okay, and then the eye has its own kind of sheen. Right, I'm gonna select the eye one. Shift drag. I'm just shift dragging. That's all I'm doing. Let's see, make sure I have no board on. All right, so I'm just shift dragging. Shift drag. Alright, so now let's pick this little nose, and I think we have a white and a black, and I think that's it. Oh, okay, let's pick his little foot. Hold black on his foot. Okay. Alright, we are well on our way to bumbling this bee. Alright. So the next thing I kind of want to do is I want to make this guy a little angry. He seems a little too happy for our final here. So let's make this guy, let's turn his smile upside down. I think I did it right. Alright, let's see. FFD 4x4. Let's go. Nope, let's go left. And then I'm going to select these bottom verts. No. Okay. I'm going to hit 1 on my keyboard, and now I'm in my vert mode. And I'm just going to kind of turn these guys like that. There we go. He's angry.
It looks like your stream paused.
Is my screen paused? Stream
Yeah,
pause.
it's in this pause because you know,
Is it back?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. All right, so hopefully you guys didn't miss that. But all I did was I added. Let me just Control Z this, so you guys can see what I did. All I did was I selected these bottom verts right here, and then I rotated them up a little bit to kind of give us that little scowl that he's got. And I'm gonna move these a little bit out a little bit, just like that. So now that he's starting to frown, and I noticed, look, see that's where his frown kind of stops, is right about there. So let's pull up our guy and see. Yep, that's kind of where it stops. So he's got a little bit of eye left, right? And that's that's what the drawings kind of try to help you guys do, is just observing and seeing how much of what you really got. So you can tell I need to make this pupil, right, a little bigger. So I'm just gonna scale it up and then just scale it down like that so that it fits a little bit better. I want it to come out. And in all honesty, right, if I'm taking like a second and a third look at this, I'm starting to think this might be in the texture, right? Like this eye might just be pixels. It might just be texture and not model. So this might be going overboard. But I think, if it's important to know how to do it. Because if somebody says, hey, I need the pupils in there because they want to rig it or something, that's a possibility as well. So, yeah. So I just scaled it up a little bit, and I'm actually going to make these guys just a little skinnier. And just increase them just a little bit like that. And it looks like we're only getting like the outer the end of it, kind of, yeah, like that. All right. So now we've got kind of our angry eye. So the next thing we can do now is we can just select both of these guys, F on the keyboard, to go in our front view, and then I'm just going to rotate this guy and try to place him in place. All right. And if the guy, it doesn't fit at first, you just kind of jam it in there. Just make sure you're jamming it nice in there. Just jam it in. You don't take no for an answer. This is your mesh. Right? My teacher needs this. I'm gonna have to jam it in there. Alright. So I jammed it in. Nice and jammed. Alright. So another thing I can do for this eye kind of thing is no, before I group them, let's add our materials that we have. So we've got our little beaky, which is, I think, this guy, beak. We've got his little legs, like so. The wings are white. The eye thing is, I think is that one? Yeah, it's that one. Boop. And then where's this yellow first button? Okay. Alright, so now what we can do is convert this to an editable poly. And then we can, okay, so it's kind of like, let's do F4, and then I'm going to select, boom, so select the 3 there, and then 3 here. Okay, back into our thing, and then do a brown. And these are shiny, so I'm just gonna turn up the roughness all the way up to 1 on these so that they're matte and not shiny at all. The eye's got a little bit of satin to it. It's got like a little satiny, plasticky sheen to it, is how I would describe it. And the beak kind of looks sort of like lead or metal-ish, right? Like that's how, you know, it's kind of what it looks like. It looks like almost like a number 2 pencil. Those are the attributes that I kind of see in there, and those, you know, and I try to take those surface properties into consideration whenever I'm using these. So, let's see. So now let's check out. All right. Just gonna add a white that I have out here. Just gonna add a white. Oh, I'm still under this one. It's like, why isn't it selecting what I wanted to select? Let's do that. Okay, so now we can convert this guy to an editable poly as well. So I can select this guy and just throw black matte material on there. Like that. Okay, so let's group these guys together. I'm gonna group this guy. It's gonna be Li. And then we're gonna do a mirror. On the Y. Just pull this guy like so. Okay, this guy looks a little more sleepy. He looks a little more sleepy than angry. Maybe I think it's gonna help when he's like kind of turned around a little bit, but this guy looked tired. He's like, man, I'm tired of this, Mario. Why don't you ever save her? All right, let's see. Let's grab our Bumblebee's leg here. Let's hit 1 on the keyboard, and that's gonna take us into our vert mode. I'm gonna pull that leg right in there. Right in there. Let's throw an edit poly modifier on this guy now. And I'm gonna select this this bottom leg, and if you guys look at his foot, you can tell that it's a little bigger than this, and it's got this kind of bean shape to it. So that's what we're gonna kind of try to attempt to get next. Just gonna select these ones right here. Actually, let me see. Scale this out like that. And then I'm gonna use a swift loop. Let's hit F4 so you guys can see the wires and stuff like that. So if I hold down Shift, it's gonna boom like that. Boom like that. So now we've got kind of like the leg that it has. And it's probably a little flatter at the bottom because he's got to land, you know, or it's like squishy in it. You know. So just a little bit like that. It's wide. And it feels a little wider still, so it's gonna kind of go a little wider. we got our nice little sleepy bee. Alright, let's fix this sleepy bee's eyes. So now, let's open this. I think if I hit one on the keyboard, I can just pull this guy down. Okay, so what I should have done is, what I'm going to do now is, I am going to group these back up, and then I'm gonna mirror this again, but instead of making a copy, I'm gonna make it an instance. And then now that we've got our angry, okay, kind of neat in the middle, so I might just have to symmetry it at the end. Because it looks like they're kind of like joined in the middle, right? Like that's the vibes I'm getting. So let's delete this. All right, and then let's go back into our group. Let's open this. So for that anger, really start to fester. I'm gonna go to my top view, kind of rotate around a little bit, hit 1 so I can select these bottom verts for the cage. E to rotate, and I can do local. So now I can rotate it on its local axis like that. So just kind of turning that smile upside down still. I think it's good philosophy. Okay. Local again. We can pull these out on the local axis. I think the further down it goes, the sleepier he looks. So I want to almost pull it up like his anger is seething. Okay. And, he's got a little bit of white right here, so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm keeping all that stuff in mind whenever I'm kind of making these decisions. Just pushing and pulling verts. Just gonna pull this guy, these guys, just a little further down. Just a smidge. I think we've gotten sufficiently angry. Sufficiently angry. All right. Let's turn on the turbo smooth and see what we get from this guy. Okay, we're starting to get that nice wrap around. I think if we fix this pupil, it will probably help us with our anger factor. I think part of the issue is he's not in the right spot. So I'm just gonna pull this guy a little further in and start to rotate. Okay. Alright. Now we can close this group. I'm gonna mirror this guy on Y. If I can even fix this to the offsets like perfect already. Hit OK. Bigger, like that. I'm just going to select this loop right want to kind of do is there's a little bit. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of a gap right there. I kind of want to. Yeah, I'll leave it for now, and I'll see if it needs to get fixed in a second. I'll leave as little gap as possible. All right. So we've got our little dude, and this next thing we need to do is make his little foot. It just looks so funny to me. Little feet. Alright. Now we can, it's gonna mirror this guy. We're making an instance as well. And yeah, look at that. We got ourselves a wee to bumblebee. No, this guy's awesome. Alright, so let's take a look. I'm just gonna move this guy out of the way. Alright, so let's unfreeze all. And then I'm gonna select everything. I'm gonna move this stuff out of the way. Let's unhide all now so that we can see where we are on the larger picture. And I think that's that's part of it as well. Is I want to show you guys how I would go about kind of match moving it. I guess that's the term, match moving this stuff to fit into the image. We've made it now, and it's it's done. So now let's just take it in place and match move this. So now we can group this. Actually, before you guys group this, let's solve the issue of this wings topology. Right now, you can see that it's just base topology, and we haven't done anything to it. So maybe we can. You want to throw some cap segments in there? No, because if we ever want to animate this, think about how this would animate. Like this wouldn't, because of where the points are on the mesh. I don't know why I'm pointing to it like you guys can see what I'm pointing to. I'm just pointing my mouth. Because of where the points are, it's going to animate weird. Like it's not going to animate properly. So I'm going to take off these cap segments, and I'm just going to throw in on this FFD modifier. On top of that, I'm going to throw an edit poly on top of it. And I'm going to just select both of these right here. I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to select the border, select both borders. I'm just going to hit bridge. Nope, no. Actually, I'm going to select one border at a time. Control select this. They haven't fixed. They need to do something about that one. That's a feature I would like to see fixed. But now I've got to deselect these top two, the topmost and the bottom one, and now if I hit bridge, I can bridge that together like so, and I'll do the same process for the other side. I'll select this whole border, right, and hit F3 so I can see through it. I'm gonna select this the edge mode, Alt to deselect these two bottom ones, because what I want is I want these edges to bridge together. So I can just hit this edge settings, make sure it's right, and then hit the check mark. Now imagine if I try to animate this, it'll bend properly. So let me show you guys what I mean. So now that we've got this, I'm just gonna do something like this, make this a copy, and let's just throw a bend modifier on there. So if I want to bend this, let's do 90, right? So I get that motion when if I wanna animate this, right? So I can set a keyframe on it. Hit N. set a key, go to this, and then so if we ever wanted to do something like that, well, it's going to be harder with that other topology. Alright, I'm just going to cut this out. That's just to show you guys what why good topology is important, especially if you're going to animate something. It's really, really important. So, yeah, we've got our little bumblebee now. Now let's move this guy into place. I'm gonna group this guy. Group Bumble. No. His name is Lebi. Lebi. Alright. So there is Lebi doing his Lebi-like things and being cool. So now I'm just gonna hit R, scale him down. Let's pull this guy right in place. Yeah, on the keyboard. Scale. I'm gonna hit Alt and X. And now I can move this guy down like so. Rotate. Make sure. Alright, so here is the problem with advertising art. What you see isn't always correct, and this is prime example of that, right? So we just kind of matched what it would look like that. This would be a video game version, and if you tried to just do it the way it would be, you're not gonna get that. Like you're not gonna get that same production quality, right? You're not gonna get that because this is supposed to be it's a storytelling element, and it doesn't matter if it's right. So now we've put it in the same place. What we now need to do is something called match moving, right? To match move this, I would need to start breaking this apart. So group, I'm gonna open this. I need to start breaking this apart and matching literally everything that I see. So boom, I'm gonna move that guy there like so, rotate him, scale him down a little bit, right? Because if you guys imagine that what I would get from an artist would be, this would be like concept art. Like if I got this as concept art from somebody, from an artist, I wanna now describe that concept art as good as possible, the closest to his drawing as possible. Right, that's the job. That's the other philosophy that I'm talking about. Is there is there's an idea where I don't care about where this stuff. I just want to make sure I'm following whatever the studio tells me. Okay, this is what we're going for. This is the art. This is the direction you need to follow. Right? You can't go back to them and say, well, it doesn't work. The model doesn't fit that. No. You have to make the model fit that. Your job is to make sure that what the client wants, what the artist drew, is correct to what is gonna look best in the final result, right? So I don't care, I'm just literally I'm just moving it, matching it to the image, right? You guys can see what I'm doing, right? Where I'm just making sure everything is kind of in place. So the next thing would be kind of rotate this guy, right? Look where the eyes are. So I need to kind of rotate this guy. Like, oof. It's a harder one. So I think what we're gonna have to do is throw an FFD. FFD saves lives, guys. FFDs save lives. So just need to bring this eye. So we have one on the keyboard. this stuff in place. So this is the kind of stuff, this is like the next level stuff that you guys are going to start realizing. All that matters is what it looks like in the end, right? Now, so let's see, Alt X, Alt X, Alt X. So, X and Alt X. So now this looks closer to that final image that they've got, right? But it looks completely wonky whenever you get up close to it. But you know, the thing is, it doesn't matter what that looks like, right? It doesn't matter what this looks like because it's right in the image. So this, you got a little tiny foot back here, right? He's got a little tiny foot. You got big foot. It's all good as long as it looks right to our boss, which our boss is usually the camera. Right? This is our boss, and this is correct. Right? If this is going into a video game, that's not going to fly. Right? So hopefully you guys are kind of starting to understand some of these processes and some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Does anybody have any questions about Lebib?